Wednesday ramblings became Thursday. Hi, this is Anna from Post Me a Book. And I missed a day just because I didn't manage to get this out on Wednesday, so I'm doing it today. It's Thursday. As per usual, it's just a quick update on what I'm reading and what I am planning on reading, or what I've read and what I'm planning on reading. So the first book I'm going into is We're All Birds of Uganda. This is by Hafsa Zayyan, and this is probably one of the first books, or perhaps even the only book, since I started my book channel, which is about a year and a half, not being so active on it. But anyway, this is probably one of the first books I've managed to read within a week and without it being reading constantly. It's her debut novel. I'm not going to talk too much about it on this because this is just an update. Hafsa Zayyan, it's a debut novel. And it's a good book. It's about migration, belonging, identity, and it's about a young man called Samir, who's Asian Indian, and his struggle with, or should I call it struggle? Yeah, I guess I could call it struggle. His struggle with his culture and his identity, and how his family, how he relates to it with his family and his friends, and also racism. So that one I shall talk about later on. It's when I do a little bit of a video clip on it. But yep, I have read this one within a week. So I can put that one down. And then one that I am planning on reading is The Grass is Singing by Doris Lessing. Now, I have never ever read this book, and I actually had no interest in reading this book when I was younger. But I am really looking forward to reading this book now. And what actually made me interested in this book is that at the beginning of my book channel, I started reading this book that's called 48 Guns for the General by Eddie Iru. And this was a book that I found that belonged to my brother, or belongs to my brother as the case may be. But any which way, when I finished reading this book, I also noticed that it has a long list of authors and books that they've written, both here and at the back. And these are all authors that have written within what they called the African Writer series. So it's African writers. This book is old, so a lot of these books that are on this list are quite old. But what I noticed when looking at this list, because I thought, okay, let me make an effort to read African writers, because that's another thing I actually never really paid much attention to. So I thought, being African, my heritage, perhaps I ought to. But anyway, looking at this list, which is 232 books listed here, plus plays, there were very, very few female authors. And I thought I really should make an effort to at least read the female authors. And I have read two different authors from this list. And one of them was Nadine Gordimer, The House Gun. And Doris Lessing was also on this list. So I thought, let me try this book. So that's what actually made me interested in this book. And reading a little bit of the background, I can't really remember that much about it. I thought then I really ought to read this, because this is supposed to be a classic. It's a well-known book, albeit a bit old now. So I've added it to my list, and I actually am looking really forward to reading this. I think Doris Lessing was, perhaps she was South African, or in this case, at the time it was called Rhodesia, and she came to England. I think that was it. I think that's why she's actually on this African writers list, because I guess she's white South African, which is South African. And so she's one of the female authors on the African writers list. And another thing that I am considering in my future books is reading plays, because also again on this list from the African writers list, they do include at the very end plays and poetry. And plays are another thing that I've never really been that interested in reading. I mean, Shakespeare was on our reading list many, many years ago. But even then, I was not that interested. I read an abridged version of the Shakespeare book I was supposed to read on well, I can't say it captivated me, but I had to read it, and the abridged version was good because, yeah, I got through it quickly and it did its magic. So, yeah, I've never really been that interested in reading plays. But this book, Nadine Gordimer's The House Gun, not that it's a play, but the style that writes in, she writes it in a bit like a play. And I really loved this book. I thought she made her characters so strong. You could really sympathize with the parents in this book who found themselves in a situation that they couldn't understand. They didn't know how to cope with it. They didn't have people who are surrounding them who they could talk to. They could only talk to each other. Their son, who was actually he doesn't play such a major part, although he plays a major part. But the son was the one who was arrested by the police in this story for murder. I won't say too much about it. For murder, um, he doesn't talk to his parents either, so they don't get a lot of information why he did it and the surroundings about the whole uh, incident. So they just hear different clips about people who might have been his friends, who tell them how he had behaved that particular day, and of course the lawyers that they're with. But my point being that Nadine Gordimer, she does write in the style of a play. And because I really enjoyed reading this book and the style in which she wrote it, I figured I should give plays a chance. And because I also thought that I should make an effort to read books from this list because they are by African authors. And that's another part in my life where I haven't actually paid so much attention to, is reading authors from Africa. And now that I'm older, I figure, well, this is my heritage. I really should make an effort. And the list is here. So at the end of this list, the plays that are here, I shall see if I can borrow some of them and read them and see how that goes. I'm not adding Shakespeare on my list. That's been undone, crossed it off. However, perhaps I could watch a Shakespeare play. But anyway, that is all I've got to say for today. That's my ramblings for today. So thank you for watching. No, that is not quite my ramblings for today. The other things that I have or I am reading is short stories. I have several books that are collection of short stories, and I've read one, completed one, and I'm getting through some others. Well, I've completed two actually, and I've got two others to read, or perhaps one more, which is Peter Carey's collected stories. And I appreciate short stories now, I have to say. So I'm going to do a video clip on just short stories when I'm done with Peter Carey's book. And that is it. That is my rambling for Wednesday, Thursday. So thank you for watching. Until next time, bye-bye. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.